This is day 790 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. If you'd like to sponsor, come and share more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Please contact me directly. We very greatly appreciate it. Today we're doing Siman Tav Tzadik Zayin, Sif Yud, and Siman Tav Tzadik Zayin, Sif Yud Ches. Yudavova Sadin Kach. What's the halacha by birds? Abazim, geese, tarnigolim, chickens, yonim, and doves. Shabai Shabbat, which are in the house or in a courtyard, which are designated for food purposes. And muxas, those which are designated for laying eggs, are muktzah. Since they're designated for eating, there's no hunting involved, because they're domesticated, and they are captured as is. There's no need to prepare them. They are prepared already from before the other began. No, maybe you have to take them the other Ezer Shir wrote Shochan, take whichever one you want and check it. I've showed so she's laid lumber, not take it for purpose Shchita, don't take it. Which comes substitute Shinta Zain Ayin Sham. Comical custom the Yarel Kim Bechine Merev Yontav, they said nevertheless it's somebody who is the Reish Shamayim, should definitely pray them Merev Yontav Biyomar and say explicitly, Zevazani knows the Macham, these ones to take tomorrow. Yeshlovo Tircha, you say Yontav, so you shouldn't come to too much of a Tircha on Yontav. She's going to pick one up, put it down, put it back on up, put it down. When he designates on Yontif, that won't happen. Lots of Meshabur on this. Bill says that this is true about other birds which are domesticated and they come to their cages in the evening and you feed them. They're considered to be captured. Meshabur says that the hens which are designated for laying eggs are also only kind of opinion that Mux is also be Yontif. Like the opinion that Mux is Mutter and Yontif. These birds are mutter as well. Mishabura says it's significant leniency. But said if you bought these birds, you didn't think about for what purpose you're going to have them around, they're mutter because we assume that means they follow assumption that they're there for food. The Mishabura says, especially if they are of your seasoned chickens from a broad expanse, which only matters because it's Simchas Yontif. So if you grab it and put it down, then it's Seder Shlo Tzorach, so that's where you're supposed to designate them from before Yontif Reish Shamayim. Yeah, without the Eish Mishirot, you should know somebody wants to say, Lamar, you should know the Dafka when he buys them a chotzer, only from the house or from a yard, you have to take the chicken or avazim or the geese. Avalo min harachov, but not from the street. Mishum Tzeda, because that's hunting. Okay, it's not true. This because the poskim loshim buys the chotzer kanra she's galu buys chotzer. That which the poskim wrote the language of front of the house in the courtyard. It means that they grew up in the house in the courtyard. Now feeling main bechol, but even in the street, came shemur golim yatzim because the kluven lives since they are accustomed on their own to enter their cages in the evenings. Aim b'chem b'chashash tzeda. There's no concern of tzeda. We'll take them without taking them from the street. I mean, kanon zem yikol. If you bought them recently, they were going down the kreis of kluven lives. They're not accustomed to go into their cage. The cages at night, Vadesh also leads Lam Yerachov is something now taken from the street. Nechal Shat Seder because of the concern of hunting. Sharatzian's references Bialocha says this only if the bird was acquired from a distant place that doesn't know its first place anymore. But if it knows its first place, is your potter. Potter is a funny lotion to use here, but because it says here Otzer, which not necessarily means mutter. But in any event, the reason why it's less of Seder because obviously they're not domesticated here, but they're domesticated somewhere. That's sufficient that they're considered to be already captured. So other nights that at night when the birds are sitting on a beam, even if they're new birds, you're allowed to capture them because they are basically blind at that point, and they're not going to resist or slip out of the clutches of the person holding on to them. You base Zeo Kob Ovas bases all by domesticated birds. Of Shai Chayav open other animals and birds like Danim Paradise which grow in orchards or biboros or other expanses. Whether the bibor is roofed over, it's not roofed over. The place is so big that we have to say it's lacking being hunted down. Using the definition we saw, you have to bring a net and say, let's bring a net and capture it. Also, you're not allowed to hunt them down. Say anything which is not lacking hunting, you're allowed to hunt them down. You see him as mono. Says, I think you have to designate them. And we'll some say but those which lack being captured, they as mono designation does work for them. Doves for dovkan, doves from a higher floor. It's porim and birds, which made themselves independent nests in the walls. Also, Sudan, you can't capture them. You can't designate them either. Arab, even they come to their cages at night. They're living independently. You're not feeding them. And below chashiba comes money, but they're not considered designated. But should not leave them leave rob the other. Most of the once they're at least lost some of their domestication, they run away from people. It's not easy to capture them again. Mishnah says, so when a bird, if the window or roof is open, then even though it's in the house in a place which is narrow, where you could actually, or small, could actually seize it in one swoop. Nevertheless, it's also to capture it because again, it's not domesticated. It can fly out the window, or it's like fly out the window or the roof. Mishnah also writes that anything you can't seize in one run, which means in one burst of energy, but rather you have to rest before you reach it, is the same thing like saying that we have to bring a net. Interesting. Okay, so the burst of running is considered to be until you have to take a breath. You give over Dafka Gedolim, Agdon Shechulim for about birds which can actually fly, adult birds. Avaktani, but the minor birds, Sheinicholim Liproach, cannot fly out from their place. But they walk heavily around the nest and waddle. Also, those you can capture. So they need to be designated. They not tell them because you don't have their mind. Can't tell them they designate them. He's brought up and able to see if you will actually see. And so too, if you have a deer, a goat, or a deer, which a ram, or whatever, a mountain goat, and a deer that made themselves nests in an orchard. They gave birth to young deer. They don't require hunting. They're mutar without designation. The orchard is near the city. Within the 70 and 2/3 amos of the city. Shiraim. The Mistama because we assume is das on them. Arukh here is distant from the city. Mistama das on land. We assume it doesn't have das on them. Va'aim, and the mother, I feel Zimonei Moila, even designation is not her for her. Which Gosavnu, like you wrote, the Konjim say that Ain Mo'ilu Azmara. Ain, which is lacking, being hunted down, it doesn't work to actually designate it. Brackets it says here, Bezeshkat, Vesiva Kodem, B'chayavo Shetzichem Azmara, that we wrote in the previous sif that either is Azmara, so in Chayos and Opos, the Nira Shein, Mishus the Nira, Shein Daito Aleim. It's because it seems that he doesn't have doubts for them. Now, I feel Ibor here too. If even in 72/3 times the city, if it's known that his intent is not for them, they need to have designation. It's a Mishnah Berurah today. Mishnah Berurah says that even if they can fly a little bit, as long as it's easy to seize them, so you don't have to say bring a net, it's okay. That's considered to be mitzadim, that they're ready and need so. The Mishnah says that even those who print Muktzan Yontif holds that these the Ayol and Tzvi, not the Ayol and Tzvi, these birds which are waddling around, that you can't use them unless they are designated. Very strong statement. The Shura says that the paradise in which we find the ayal and tzvi, it can only be considered to be nitzod if there is a fence around it. So it's a makam and mishtamer. The Yeah, okay. Do this here. No, you die. The came is by the color which should say to us. So since we said anything which needs hunting now is forbidden, and I feel suffix seda. Therefore, even a case of where you're masupuk, if there's seda involved, also it's a suffix that writes a luchumra. Um, but the Mishnah Berurah throws in also suffix muktzah is also even to be metalto, because that's a bit much bigger chumrah. In any event, such as you have traps of animals and birds and fish, which are spread around every on the next day you find stuff caught in them. We're afraid that they were caught at night. Not permitted unless it's known that they were caught from there from every yontim. That is the designation. That which you spread the net, and they were captured from before Yontif. So if you find that the nets are ruined in a way that it's clear that they got ruined on account of the animals going into them, we assume the vade nichnasu me'erev Yontif, the Yitzchak got in there to be erev Yontif. So that's the case you might ask. So why did I see in erev Yontif? It could be it's a very big net. He saw on one side that they got ruined, but he didn't see the birds because whatever they were, because they were on the other side. Tezba. There's a question. Lama iser suffix seda. Lama asur suffix seda. Why is a suffix seda asur? Bishlo suffix seda asur beyond the minat Torah. If you always ask me, I'm talking about something that's even tough, tzadik, hey, as a shop, it works out well. Let's make the rice l'chumah, like I mentioned a minute ago. I was certainly showing you Rabbanan, but those that say it because Blechus Orchel Nefesh is only also the Rabbanan, the Hasfeika the Rabbanan l'kula. We should be lenient like any other suffix the Rabbanan. Yesh Shom Navali Dovish Yesh Lomatir. The answer because it's something which is going to be mutter, and eventually, anyway, after Yontif. And with Dovish Yesh Matir, also I feel be Rabbanan, it's also even in the Rabbanan. Now, granted, the Dovish Yesh Matir is normally an issue of bittul and tarevis, and here there's it's not an issue of bittul tarevis, but could be we can extend the principle to even these things of suffix, which is a chiddush. But Sharatzin says, according to Sfara, if the fish will get ruined if you wait until after Yontif, then of course because Devashesh Matir is only going to be okay after Shabbos Yontif, but here it won't. Okay, now Arukh HaShulchan told us a very interesting idea. You know what? That's the way it is. Some of their speakers, and this is one of them. That will explain also why the Mishnah said before Savik Mukta is a problem. Sharatzin says that according to this reason, the usher even they're going to get ruined. At least it's mutter if it get ruined. But according to this reason, the Chazal want to be machmir, it's usher and they're going to get ruined. Nevertheless, the place that's going to be completely lost, perhaps you can rely on the first reason. Back to Oshun, Avil Arab enter Lamdim Kleshiasu. According to the second reason, no, according to both reasons, you don't have to wait after nightfall to the amount of time it would have taken to catch them after the second day begins. It says Yom Tov Sheni Rosh Hashanah. Since it's one long day, you have to wait until after Rosh Hashanah, both days. Wait till both days pass, and that's also true by Yom Tov, where Shabbos is on Yom Tov Sheni. You have to wait until Motzei Shabbos. Shon goes on, v'chol ze b'Yom Tov Rishon. So on the first day Yom Tov Sheni, mutar suffix tzeda, dabis fake sveka. So it says mutar on Yom Tov Sheni because it says double suffix. And Mishnah precludes second day Rosh Hashanah and Yom Tov Sheni when it comes on Shabbos. Sharatzion says if you only have one suffix, and the second suffix comes out because it's in the tarobis, or machmir, it's the davar sheshmatzin, which makes sense, of course, unless it's in the place of a great loss. That means saying it's being ruined. You have to wait. Okay, so the Arukh HaShulchan now explains this fake sveka. The yont of sheni gufa have a suffix. The yont of sheni itself is a suffix. Yesho seen those who forbid gam beyond of sheni, even on yont of sheni, and the Mishnah says you should be machmir. Look, like that's far unless the malkam have say gadol. And the Arukh HaShulchan also says "P'chein mashal kama and siman taf kuf tezvav" is an indication of this later on. It should be machmir. Tesai because of a Rambam, the Perik Beis Din Yud Zayin. Rambam writes, talking about Ovos L'Chayashem Muktzah, fish and birds and animals which are Muktzah, ain't mashkinas on b'yontiv, now to give them to drink on yontiv. They know see him name was now to put food in front of them. Shemi Avali Kachman, because you might in the process come to take from them. Chosh Asul Achlo L'Shtamash b'yontiv, Hishu Muktzah. Also anything which you're not allowed to eat or using yontiv because it's Muktzah, also Tachlo, you're not allowed to carry it. Akan L'Shona. So the Mishnah Berurah says, the Achrayim say that specifically in mamish in front of them, you can't put the food or the drink. But you put it at a little distance, and they come to eat, that's enough of a hacker, and that's okay. Bilal says that the Malkam Hefsed, they allow you to put the food directly in front of them. I guess, Chavetz Chaim lived in a much more rural area, rather than, I think, than the Viaduct, which is more metropolitan. Perhaps it's a more detail here in the Mishnah Berurah. Could be. So the Arukh HaShulchan continues says about the Rambam. Din says who Mishnah ain't sodin. The Mishnah in Shem Lechora Hada Afil B'Shabbos Noisim Mizonos LeBeimus LeChayish Mizonos Lecha Ben Tmeim Torah Ben Torim. Understand? He says even on Shabbos we give food to animals which are required to feed, whether they're Tomei or Torah. But I feel mutal the trach ba'adon. You're not even allowed to tell for them. Shvui uchla to make something food because they should lechol so they can eat. K'moshe chasam le'elsim mechin chav dal. Like it says, mechanach l'sem klovim. You can cut up a carcass in front of dogs. Koshka miyatkim is still Yosef. Lama no see if name is on. Why don't we put food in front of them? Rashi appears minesh efshar dogim lichios beloza. Rashi says because fish don't need our food. They can live there anyway. Ayin sham. Avraham lo nichal lebekav. Avraham is not okay with that. Shem Messiah Mishnah, because the Mishnah concludes, you can hunt the animals and birds and put food in front of them. For the heter hamazonos who rakim they heter atzeda. It's clear that you're allowed to put food in them only because you're allowed to catch them. So therefore the Rambam says that Tamu rak b'yontif. The issue is only a yontif, not on Shabbos. Because it might come to take from them. But if a non-kosher animal, this issue is not applicable. But if name is honest, then you can put in front of them food. And perhaps even for a behema to just Torah, which is muktzah, that you can't use anyway, mutter might also be mutter. Put food in front of them. Because the whole issue is that we're afraid you're going to capture it. Mishnah Berurah says the minhag olam is to give to animals which are muktzah food to eat directly. So that's a man, but he says it's super good, but he seems all this way. Yeshloim says Magen Avraham seems to argue on him. But Yesh Mishor, those who say the dogim v'chayas v'ovo should be borim, if they are in the ponds or let's use the word corral. They're not called found by human beings. And it's as if you don't have, but we're not required to feed them. That's Rashi, and it's like Rashi said. But other types in the house, and a person's koya, ben tamein, ben tarim, with a tamei tar, make them they're called your, their food is upon you. And you have to feed them on Shabbos and Yontif. The end of Beitza seems explicit. In terms of mashkin, in terms of giving them to drink, af osin she'enam a beiso b'chatzero. You even give to drink those which are not in your house and in your yard. I don't know why. Okay, Yud Zayin. Ketzad Azimun, how do you designate? Miyona Saktani, when you deal with small doves. Shona Sifir Gimel, which you mentioned, Sifir Gimel. This one now we're going to take tomorrow. You don't have to shake the nest or shake the birds. just the statement in and of itself is sufficient. Mishabur goes so far as to say, even if you came to a determination in your heart, that's enough. You don't even have to specify it. Okay? But to say I'm going to take from here without specifying which ones, that's not enough. It's not because of Brera. The law meaning Hoover Dover Shekim Leilu. It's not because Brera that we say it's not clear which ones he had in mind. The Rabbanan Yesh Brera, because we say Brera does work by the Rabbanans. At the time the came Hashem B'Ktanim, but rather it's because they're small. Any Yodam he doesn't know them yet. Hashem Shem Yitol Elu Lo Yisrael Shebeinav. We're afraid it's going to take these, and they won't find favor in his eyes. V'yach Zirem, and it's going to go put it back Yitol Achem. It's going to pick others. So Metal Media Lo Chaze, it's going to carry something which is not suitable for him. The moment he decided not to use it. He says this one, I'm going to take tomorrow. We assume that he checked it out and found that these were the ones that he wants. Even if you designate the entire dovecot, he may not start mute man, you only need a minority, there may not it's not effective. Because we're afraid that you're not going to reject some of them. Then may have Charlie should start calling Shavim, but it's possible you need the entire dovecot. Tomorrow, Mahani Asimun, Chaygan, Avagav Lo Yitzlaim Kulam Bazov, and the Zimun works and this designation works, even though in the end you're not going to take all of them. Mishabur says, you mutter, since it wants to designate it, you're allowed even to pick them up and put them down. And the reason why you do it is because you have to designate all of them because you're a Safek. Maybe you're going to need all of them. We didn't require you to designate specific fish when you dammed up the water ditch. So it's and say that this is not what I'll take tomorrow. You told me to some place that my fish there's not as much concern. You'll pick one up and you're not going to like it and toss it back in. People don't put fish back in the water after they took it out. So therefore, even if it decides this one I don't like so much, you took on to add on others. Not going to put this one back. Shame be on a shove as opposed to the birds, where obviously they can be put back. We got behemoths to chayasos with animals. If they require designation, the class miklam, we can designate all of them. Not concerned for this concern. The Shema Yitov maybe will take and put back. The Yitov and take others. The Korim love you do much. You know the story of the big animals. So they're just like geese and chickens, to which you become accustomed. As opposed to small doves, where you don't have that kind of intimate acquaintance with them. But Bilal says that not specifically small doves, or any type of animal, according to the opinion that holds a mikvah, you have to say zeh b'zeh, and you have to actually designate.